Hey, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about having a high elbow when swimming, how throughout my career I was wrong about the high elbow and the right way of doing it, and maybe some drills and techniques into how to achieve a high elbow for yourself. If you're new here, it's Josh, a professional triathlete and architect from Guernsey, but now based in Wales. On today's episode, we're going to look at the high elbow, the myth of the high elbow, how I was wrong in what I was doing whilst I was a swimmer, and how I've now changed that being a professional triathlete and hopefully a better swimmer all in all. So what is the high elbow when swimming, and how can it be misinterpreted? I always thought that it was to do with coming across the top of the water with a nice high elbow and being able to really come through the stroke nice and high and making sure that it looked technically adequate above the water. But since getting a little bit more into the technique and making the most out of myself and most out of my swimming, it's actually come to my attention that it was more to do with what's going on underneath the water. Because if you think about it, it's all about what's going on underneath the water that's propelling you forward. So there's two things here. One is the high elbow underneath the water, but also actually still the high elbow above the water as well. But that doesn't come from where you might think it does. Having a high elbow underwater means that you can catch the water quicker and sooner and therefore have more power throughout the whole stroke and throughout the back end. It's more to do with the front quadrant, so how you're actually able to grab that water, the anchor, some people call it, in order to propel yourself forward, and it's a really good way of being efficient. So yeah, I think throughout my swimming career, it was a case of, I thought that if I had a high elbow coming above the top of the water, it was going to make me more efficient or look better, or that's what was occurring. But in matter of fact, there was something to it. So when I say high elbow above the water and that it's also important to have that, it's because of the rotation. So if you're rotating out a little bit more on the front end like this, you can see that the shoulders are coming around a little bit more and you're able to get a higher elbow. Whereas if you're just a little bit static, you can't bring it, square on, you can't bring the elbow through as much or as high. But again, what I'm talking about mainly is to do with underneath the water, getting that nice high elbow, as you can see here, and pulling through with a nice efficient long stroke. So how do you achieve this? I think that the best way, or one of the ways that I've thought about doing it myself, is to get the shoulder and the chin right next to one another. So really hugging the shoulder and the chin as one, so that you can get over the top of the stroke and therefore rotate correctly. It's not as easy as it seems, because there's a few things to it in terms of you need good lat flexibility. So the whole down the side here, you need to be able to have quite a good range of movement there to get it really good, but also a good amount of shoulder strength to get over the top of the stroke and into position. This isn't as easy as some people make it look, especially elite swimmers. They've got that shoulder mobility, that shoulder flexibility, and it just looks insane. It looks like they're able to hold that position forever. But yeah, I think it's taken a good few weeks for me in the past to be able to get the knack of it properly. And it takes a good 2 weeks, I reckon, worth of a little bit of shoulder pain. Again, don't overdo it, because if you overdo it too quickly, it will cause too much shoulder pain and you won't be able to carry on swimming. You'll have to take some time off. So there's 3 drills that I'd recommend to do to get a bit better at this. And one of them is side kick. So literally just kick on your side, you've got nice rotation and you're looking down your arm with your shoulder to your cheek. And if you do this, it's aiming to practice the whole element of keeping that shoulder to the cheek and then being able to get over the top of the stroke when you start initiating it. Then you can start doing the 6-1-6 drill, so 6 kicks and then switch to the other side, and hopefully you can get over the top of that stroke and into it. Sometimes you can wear fins during this, because a lot of people don't have that flexibility and that strength to hold it there. So if you use fins, you can move yourself forward a bit better and be able to maintain that stroke a little bit higher, because the torque when you're pulling through the stroke isn't as high, because you'll be going a little bit quicker, if that makes sense. And lastly, I would use paddles. So if you get a paddle or two paddles, you're able to get over the top of the stroke and you can properly feel when you're engaging properly. So really focus on keeping that shoulder to your cheek and then engaging nice and early so that you can get that 90-degree angle as soon as possible. And therefore, the sooner that you engage that, the sooner that you're pushing backwards with the hands and the forearm and propelling yourself forward. So I think paddles enable you to realize when this is happening. The things with that though, like even now I'm constantly thinking about technique and always just making sure that I'm trying to do it as the best I can. And it's relentless, it's every single length. I don't stop thinking about it. It seems a bit obsessive, obviously, like with triathletes, we tend to do that anyway. But yeah, it's just constantly thinking about it until it becomes ingrained. But yeah, if you're aiming for that high elbow, both under and over the water, think about the rotation in terms of your shoulders being able to get over the top of the water, and then also that shoulder to cheek and being able to increase that lat flexibility and shoulder strength in order to get into the right position. If you got any value out of this, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.